Okay, we'll get started. If you could take your seats, we'll get on with this panel. So thanks for everyone joining us today. This is the panel on disruptive startups. So we've put this panel together with some of the most disruptive startups here on campus today. You've already heard from Lucas Free with Amber Ag, who's one of the disruptive startups from the last couple of years. So these are startups that are leading, they're disrupting some of the traditional industries with new innovations. So these three companies are disrupting different parts of the value chain with instant access to data through the air, through the ground, and then managing that data in different ways. They're also innovating in the business model and product development and how they're getting to market as well. And so we'll hear from three of the leaders of these companies. Also, before we get started with the panel, I'd also like to introduce some companies that we have here, some from in town and some from out of town as well, through one of the programs that we run on campus to commercialize technology out of the labs, or out of research labs. So teams that are participating in our Innovation Core program, could you stand up? Now, don't be shy, I know you're here. All right, excellent. So we have about 12 teams here that are doing customer discovery with established teams. So if you see these teams around, please take time to talk with them. So they're going around, they're talking, validating some of their value propositions, customer segments, to make sure that they build stuff that people care about. So if you see them, if they come up and ask questions, please take a chance to talk with them. So, okay, great, thank you. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of our team members, let me introduce myself, sorry. So my name is Jed Taylor. I run the Technology Entrepreneur Center on campus in the College of Engineering, and I also work as one of the Entrepreneur in Residence down at Research Park. So one of the programs that we run is in partnership with Enterprise Works down at Research Park, is the I-Core program. And what this program is it's a program that we run that takes technology or ideas and helps validate the key parts of the business model, including value proposition and customer segment. And it's a key program that we have on campus. We've had about 140 teams over the last 5 years go through this program, and those teams have went on to raise close to $50 million in outside funding after they go through the program. So if you're a faculty member or a researcher, even a team in the community that's interested in participating, reach out to myself or Laura Blyle or Laura Frericks or really anybody in our entrepreneurial ecosystem and ask about it, and we'll be sure to get you in the program. So with that, let me introduce the rest of our panel members, and I think we're in alphabetical order, and I'll invite you to tell you about yourself, briefly introduce yourself, introduce the company that you're working on, and then we'll go from there. And also, while we're going through it, if you have a question during the panel, feel free to raise your hand or go up and ask it, and we don't have to wait till the end, but if you don't ask any during the panel, we'll leave some time at the end for it as well. So with that, I will introduce Katie Betz.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Katie Betz. I am a co-founder and business operations manager at Agrible. A little bit about myself. I grew up on a farm in western Iowa. We grew corn and soybeans and raised cattle until one year my mom had to help deliver one too many calves, and that coincidentally was the year that they quit raising cattle. But graduated from Iowa State University, landed in Champaign, Illinois, where my journey with Agrible started. So my time at Agrible, I think in true startup fashion, you end up wearing a lot of hats. And so helping with some internal operations, also had a short stint as the softball coach for the Agrible team. I spend the majority of my time on the marketing team, helping develop strategy, outreach, and our external events that we attend. So Agrible is just down the street. We have about 50 employees. It's a great location. We have access to everybody has talked to before, the amazing talent at the University of Illinois. So it's a great place to be, also with being so close to growers right outside our windows, our friends. They're easy access to talk to and get feedback from. So we are giving real-time agronomic information for growers to make sustainable decisions. And then in 2018, we're releasing Agrible's Retailer Services, where we are able to provide that digital communication for retailers and their growers, and be able to provide that predictive analytics to them and really add value to them. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Girish.
Okay. Hi, I'm Girish Chowdhary. I am an assistant professor at the Agriculture and Biological Engineering Department and have affiliations among other places on campus, and also the co-founder of Earthsense. Is it working? Okay. Yeah, I think then you won't have one. That one was green with yellow and battery.
Hello. All right. Okay, let's start again. So I'm Girish Chowdhary. I am a professor at the Department of Agriculture and Biological Engineering at the University of Illinois. And I'm also the co-founder of Earthsense with Chinmay Soman, who's sitting right there. And Earthsense is a company that's focused on agricultural robotics. And we view robots as embodiments of AI. And our robots are beginning to help breeders breed better plants by measuring phenotypes on farms. And over time, they will help growers address the labor shortage. We've been around for about a year and a half officially, or about 2 years officially. We've been at the Enterprise Works for about 2-3 months or so. But the idea, of course, has been floating around between Chinmay and I have been bouncing it around for over 3 to 4 years, and has matured the idea through several different stages to where we are. This year we released our early adopter program. This year is in this basically last year, but I view this year as the growing season. So for this growing season, we've released our early adopter program, in which select partners can have our robots on their fields and beta test those robots along with us. And we've had a tremendous response to this program, and we have now 20 robots out. There will be 20 of our robots out into the fields during this growing season.
Great. And Katie.
Good morning. So I'm Katie Hansen, a two-time graduate of the University of Illinois. When I graduated from the business college with my master's in business, shortly after that, I started working at Cargill here in central Illinois as a grain buyer. And that's really where I developed my love for ag and working with farmers and helping them understand what their break-evens are. And that's really kind of where I got the passion I really want to help these guys be successful. That's what makes me happy, and agriculture is such an important industry that I love to be a part of. About just over a year ago, I was presented with an opportunity to work for Intelinair, which is the company I work for now. I'm the director of sales and partnerships. So last year, focused on working farmer direct with all of our growers using our Ag MRI tool. And then this next season, kind of working through new growers, and then also what do all these partnerships look like, and how do we grow this business beyond, what we've done in 2016 and 17. At Intelinair, we are in the aerial analytics industry, so we fly manned aircraft planes over fields multiple times throughout the season, and then run all that imagery through our algorithm. So really see exactly what's going on in the field and kind of pinpoint those spots for the farmers so they can better utilize their time out in the field. We're going into our third season. Last year was our first season with manned aircraft, and we flew about 1.8 million acres in Illinois and Iowa. And so obviously looking to expand this next year. We've already kind of doubled our business so far, and we've got a couple more weeks left before everyone gets going.
Excellent. Okay. So the first question I'd like you, all three of you, to address is, you're on this panel because you're thought of as disrupting industries. So could you talk about, was disruption part of or is it part of your business model, and how are you disrupting the industry that you're competing in?
Oh, myself. Okay. All right. So at Agrible, we're an independent company, and we are modeling corn, soybean, wheat, barley, and peanuts. And so with this, we are able to provide information on our platform that is extremely easy to use. The technology and infrastructure behind it, really trying to make a low barrier to entry to really drive adoption. And so what this has meant is that we have over 13,000 growers in the system where they have direct access to this information in which, agronomic information in which they can make decisions that make sense for their operations, for the land, and ahead of time. It's not being, you're not being reactive, you're being proactive. And so by doing that, they are able to make sustainable decisions. And with this, we heard the panel before, Jed doing all of his work with cover crops and the soil health, and able to take that information and really pass that through to the supply chain. For the CPGs for their brand commitments. So having a big impact. For instance, a no-till field on 1 acre saves 2 gallons of diesel, so it makes sense for their pocketbook as well as the soil, great for soil health. So these are the kinds of decisions that Agrible is able to help and really make a big impact and move the needle. They keep saying how we have to increase food production to meet the demands of the population, but we also have to do it by optimizing our natural resources. And so that is where we are able to help and make a really big impact.
Okay, so I can go. So the question is disruption. Was disruption the plan? That's kind of the question. So my answer is yes, absolutely. That was exactly the plan. As a professor, I get the opportunity to dream a little bit, and that's great. But we really feel that small robots on farms can fundamentally change the way we grow food. Not just the better breeding, the herbicide resistance problem, the precision seeding problem, but it can actually enable new ways of farming, right? Such as microfarms, which are currently labor intensive, very difficult to do with larger equipment. So disruption of the whole paradigm is certainly a part of the vision. And then the other part is the fact that we can look at an opportunity, think about it carefully, and once we identify it, act on it really rapidly and put something out there so that we can actually start catalyzing those changes. That's also a part of the execution or the tactic that we use. I was talking to some folks before, and one of the things that is very hard for a startup, especially for us, we are so early growth and we have the lean model going, is that we really only get a few shots at getting things right, right? Because we on the one hand, we don't have the patience or the resources to develop products that are amazing and great like a big company can do. But on the other hand, say we do that and that's not what the users want, then we are in trouble because we can't have sorry for picking on you Microsoft, we can't have a Zune out there, right? So the only real approach that is available to us is to co-develop with our customers, and right there, the seeds of disruption are sown because we go to the customer and say, hey, is this what you want? And we put out products that are potentially on their way to being perfect, but they can immediately start creating value, and customers can give us feedback and help us build the product that they want. Right?
Yeah, and I agree. Absolutely, it's part of the plan. So, the name of the question really is, how do we do more with less? And what we've discovered and kind of what we've developed at Intelinair is the highest resolution that you can get possible at a scalable level so that you can take action in season when it matters most. And so that's what we've really worked out to develop, and you can't find that anywhere else. So we're absolutely disrupting the marketplace. Imagery is not new. There's been satellite imagery for a long time. There's been drone imagery for a long time. But being able to do it often, frequent, at a high resolution, that's really where we're disrupting the market.
I'd like to go back to the point you were just making, Girish, about getting out to the market quickly. I was talking to a representative from one of the major ag companies, and he was talking about how impressed he is or amazed at how quickly small startups are able to get to market. And can you talk a little bit about how you've been able to leverage your ability to move quickly to your advantage? And specifically how you were talking about, I think you've been able to sell, I think there was a press release I read about you were able to sell 20 robots to a company and actually take the customer feedback into account as you were doing that.
Yeah. So we were able to sell 20 robots to different companies, including large companies and smaller institutions, and this really came together in about a year and a half, right? I guess the main reason this could be done was because we were putting together or channeling together knowledge and experience that we had gained in other industries. For example, for me, I've done a lot of work in unmanned aircraft. So if you start looking at our robot, it starts, for several people, it reminds them of a drone on the ground, kind of, right? Because it's a very simplistic design. It's all plastic-based, not the traditional, more metal-type designs. But at the same time, it's very rigid. It's able to handle the stress really well, just like aircraft, right? I mean, from that background, we know that you can build really resilient structures at very low cost and weight. And then what we've done also is that we've kind of focused on what the minimum viable product is, and focused on technologies that are available to us that will enable us to kind of put together something that looks like a product and get it in the hand of the users, and then let the users tell us how they want this product to go. So we aren't dealing with the scale problem, right? The scale problem is what is really difficult to solve very quickly, right? Because you want to build something at very large scale if it's hardware, right? And it needs to be high quality at low cost, right? So we get around that by using innovative manufacturing techniques such as additive manufacturing, or in other words, 3D printing, and modular software design techniques to basically be able to put a product out very quickly. Now, I think this is slightly different than maybe at the speed that you guys can put products out, right? Because we have to still worry about the hardware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us at Agrible, so we really rely on the expertise that the team has, so a lot of experience, but we really stay agile. So that means that we are constantly reviewing things that are going on and checking up and following up, and if we need to change direction. So that really has allowed us to get to market quickly with our software.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I liken it to looking at, a cruise ship compared to like a speedboat, right? So these larger companies, when there's a decision that needs to be made to kind of turn the ship around, there's hundreds of people on board that all have to work together to figure out how do we get this ship turning, and it kind of goes slowly. When, these ag tech startups were smaller, everybody's an owner in the company. Everybody is, has that authority to make decisions and do what needs to be done to get, to get the job done and get the customer what they need. That when we got to make a decision, we can do it, we can flip it on a dime,
Mm-hmm. Agreed, and almost that true grit, like you're all working together and just you really dig in deep to really just make it happen. Everybody's all for one.
Right, agreed. And also I think, there isn't an established way of doing the things that we are trying to do, right? They're fairly new. So there isn't like the wisdom of the world telling us that, no, that's not how you do it, my child. This is the way of the wise ones.
We just tell them that's how it's done.
Exactly, yeah. We're, from that sense, perhaps obnoxious and arrogant, but...
It's trial and error, though. I mean, you do something, you try. We've had multiple meetings where we'll go, I've got one of my marketing guys in the back here, and we'll go for 4 hours talking about, okay, this is how we're going to do it, this is the plan, and then we'll sleep on it and wake up the next morning and be like, scratch all of that. Turn it around, try something different. We've thought of something new. There's been new information come to us, and just being able to be nimble, like you were saying earlier, is how you can stay innovative.
Right, right. So pivots are the word.
And we call it confidence, not obnoxious or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that word. Yeah.
Let me shift it a little bit. Based on something that was said in the last panel, there seems to be a generational switch occurring to farmers and customers that are more concerned with cost, and they may have limited budgets. They're often making decisions on technology based on what perhaps their neighbor is using. So how do you build a strong case for return on investment to get them to perhaps choose a disruptive technology like you all are offering?
Absolutely, and I think in ag, especially the ag industry, where trust is key and relationships, because that's what it's built on. As we all heard them talk before, all the generations, what their dad, their grandpa did. So really, we have found through strategic partnerships, partnering with people that the ag industry is already comfortable with, so like ADM, people that the growers are working with already, and AB and Bev, helping them with their Smart Barley program. And that's how, it puts us on their radar, and they get more and more comfortable. Also with the return, being able to show them, we have a free subscription, so they can go in and see what it's like, so they can test out the waters. And for instance, we had a guy out in Idaho, a grower, able to turn off when he is able to turn off his irrigation pivots, he's able to save $1,500 a day. And so that is immediate return on investment. So just being able to show that off the bat, that really starts to gain that trust. And all the coffee talk in ag, just in the coffee shop. So word travels fast.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's all about the relationships in ag, and that's, where I got my foundation in the industry, really. And so it's working with those retailers, working with, the John Deeres, and everybody that has that relationship with the customer can bring us out there. They've understood our tool. They've learned what we're doing and how it brings value to kind of everybody at the table, and so they can, their customers trust them when they're recommending something like us. But then I'd also agree, it's even more so important for us, we do have a similar problem with, we have to have planes, and they've got to be fixed with special sensors, and that's not totally plentiful. And so, finding those areas where there is high interest, going there, setting kind of a grid, and then reaching out to everybody in those areas by word of mouth and trial, and having everybody dip their toes. Everybody in ag likes to dip their toes, like, okay, I'm going to try this on 25% of my fields, and being able to say yes to that and take advantage of that opportunity, so that now in the next year they say, you know what, halfway through the season we had guys last year saying, I need this on all of my acres. I'm like, well, shoot, sorry, let's figure it out for 18, but
Yeah, I think that's very true. So I think one of the things that we've also been trying to do is work very closely with the customers, following in the footsteps of the co-development or customer discovery type of philosophy, and create a product by working with them in a way that they know how the product has improved over time, right? Because they've helped shape the product and helped take the product from where it is to where they really want it to be. And I think it's a difficult path to walk. But again, as we discussed, being small and nimble allows us to walk that path, allows us to have that extensive interaction, the coffee talks, right? Pretty much, and we can pick a very small group of people to work with and basically be in contact with them very closely and make sure that the product is meeting the expectations of the customer.
And that leads me to another question. So all three of you are small, disruptive companies, and you talked about strategic partnerships and perhaps co-development. And sometimes there can be challenges when you're working with a larger company because perhaps company culture differences. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that may exist, challenges you've had working with larger companies, and how you've overcome those challenges to make them successful relationships?
I think one big thing is, we're a small company. We've got a really cool tool, and we're reaching out to these larger corporations who have 100 other small, really cool companies knocking on their door, asking for their resources. And so it's really no different than when I'm reaching out to my Farmers Direct and saying, hey, okay, here's what I have, here's what you need, understanding everybody's motivations, what really is a win-win-win for everybody, ironing it all out and saying, hey, I've got this plan, do all the work. Here's A, B, or C, which option works best for you? And they'll likely say, you know what, we like B with a little bit of this and C. And so doing the work for them because they've got everybody reaching out to them at the same time.
That's really great. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we look to as well is just being patient, knowing that working with large corporations is a part of the game, scaling and everything else great that comes along with it. So just be patient. Also, we look internally at any of our internal resources that have had experiences because that's great to draw on. And then also be prepared to for some upfront costs because they're going to want to see it built out to show that return on their investment. So you'll have to spend the time and the costs up front to build that out. So as long as you're prepared for it, that's something you can be ready, and it will make that experience really kick it off well.
Yeah, I think large companies have established procedures in place, and they expect certain types of agreements to be in place. And I think just working with those procedures and aligning our goals with their goals is something that we really try hard to do. Make sure to find out exactly what it is that they want, what is the hole that they need to fill, and then make sure that we're aligning everything that we're doing with meeting that need. And when that's done, I think the doors start to open. At least that's what we've noticed.
And that brings up another good point that was brought up on the last panel, is being able to meet their needs and understand the industry and the importance of understanding the agriculture industry. How are you able to bring that expertise into your company? Because it's obviously hard to attract the right expertise into your company. How are you able to recruit the right talent? How are you able to bring that expertise into your company?
Yeah, I mean that's very important, right? I think the market and its breadth is just phenomenal. And I think, at least for us, what we rely heavily on is our connection with the university, and the immense amount of expertise that we have here in the College of ACES, with the crop science and agricultural economics and all of those other faculty and students and stakeholders. Listening to them, working with them very closely is the we feel that that's the most sustainable way of learning about the different spectrums of the market, right? And what you see at the grower end, what happens at the breeders, what happens down the supply chain, what happens before in the labs of the bigger corporations. Understanding all of that is really an important and immense task that we focus quite a bit on.
I agree. The university has been such an amazing resource for us, and also I would say the research park in general too, so supportive, and just all the companies here and the events that they help network people together, so that's been really great. I think one of the great resources that we have is our internal growers we have on staff. So we have a great program which allows them the time that they need out in the field, and then they come back in the office. And so I think it's not just the developers and the engineers, the ag engineers, but it's also the growers and the agronomists that we have on staff, because they're such valuable resources. So that's something that we're always looking for as well, because they bring such a depth to the tools and the products that we provide.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've got a question around some of the technologies, and Girish, I think you talked about this already. So tractors and equipment are becoming more dependable and larger. Some people are wondering if this is the right thing. Sure, it's great if you're trying to till the soil and dig deep, but is this the right thing for harvesting, spraying, and weeding?
So, I mean, if you look at the spectrum of technology that's available to growers today, right? It's basically the large equipment, and then there's nothing, and then there is manual labor. Right? There's a big gap in between those two. Now, large equipment is what people call non-scale neutral, right? In the sense that if you buy a large tractor, in order to make the money back, you need to have a large farm. And that works quite well in the Midwest, It works okay in parts of South America. It doesn't work that well when you start going to Asia. The farm sizes are very small, and there's ways that people deal with that. They own tractors cooperatively and things like that. But again, if you even just look at California and the amount of fruit that were lost last year due to the labor shortage, I think it becomes pretty clear that there is a niche very clearly available there in that small equipment area where basically the equipment can be dexterous. It can go in and try to do small things in a way that helps humans, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to trying to replace the large tractors. That I don't think. I mean, I haven't done the study, but I don't think that a very large team of equipment can reach the efficiency of a large combine harvester, right? And I think there's really no reason to do that too. I mean, we've got people who figured that out, right? They know how to do that well. But I think a large tractor cannot reach between two plants and pick out that one weed that, if left unchecked, in a week is going to really hurt both those plants. So that's where you need a new definition of precision. And I think this new technologies like small robots could really bring that definition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have leaders from 3 innovative companies that work with machine learning, AI, big data. How about thoughts on ag? What do you see from your vantage point? Where do you see things going in the future?
It's happening no matter what. Mm-hmm. So really, though, I mean, when I think about it, the adoption rate in ag comes to mind mostly. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit slower, but what we've already seen in just 2 years of running field data through our analytics is the sooner that guys jump on board with this stuff and the sooner that they take advantage of these efficiencies and these opportunities, the exponential growth they have, it's absolutely exponential. The sooner that they jump on and learn about that, get those insights, what's going on in their fields, they know how to plan things for the future. And those are the guys that are going to continue to grow and build their operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think as Lucas had talked to in the beginning of the day about how large corporations were telling the stories of the row crops to the consumers, and we are in a position where we're giving that story back to the growers. This is their story to tell. They can really share the truth in marketing, right, for the CPGs and the consumers. They can get the story directly from the growers. They're able to control that, and so we're able to give that to them and really make an impact. And as Matt spoke to on the panel before, the globalization of it, and so just we're enabling that to put that information in their hands to make that happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think ag is so data intensive, and this is what both these companies are doing. And a lot of that data is available and is being provided from metrics, but a lot of that data is also hidden in the growers' minds, right? So one of the question is that knowledge and the data. How do we access that, and how do we create repositories that help grow that data for the entire community? And that I think is a very challenging machine learning problem. And I think if you just go into, I really feel that these directions can define the machine learning for future, right? It's not just hey, let's take some machine learning algorithms and apply it here. But the classic example, even if you just look at, you don't have to peel the onion more than one layer to figure out that we need new things. For example, unsupervised learning is in not a very good shape right now, and that's exactly what is needed here, because we don't have the resources to go around labeling thousands and thousands and thousands of images and saying that, oh, this is a leaf, this is a corn, this is a stalk, right? That's not going to be feasible. So how do we take all of this data that's weakly labeled and make it into something more? Mm-hmm.
And to your point, it's so local. Ag is so local. It's not something you can just take across the board, and it still becomes very local. So That's why Agrible is, working with retailers, ag retailers, because they're the boots on the ground. They understand the local needs and are working directly with their customers on that. So being able to provide this kind of data to local knowledge is a great combination. So
right, and from the Agrible perspective, what I really like about that whole approach is the bringing together of data from different sources, right? And that bringing together and coordinating it is really a very valuable thing, right? Because that isn't easily available.
Right.
And
an easy way, easy to understand way, and being able to take action instantly, not having to do any analytics with it as a user.
Okay. I'd like to open it up to any questions. We have about 10 minutes left. We have a microphone in the middle of the room. Yes, Manfredo.
Hi. Thank you very much for sharing. Let me put this analogy. Just in biology, if you have a very disruptive forces, immediately comes up something to counteract these disrupting forces. Or in physics, if you want to move, is friction that counteract your... So having in mind this, which are the areas that if you find these reactions, your resistance to your disruptive market or technology, and if you find that which were the strategy that you use to counteract these forces?
I think a big thing for Intelinair is just that imagery isn't new. And we're actually not an imagery company, we're a data company, but at first glance, we look like an imagery company. And so when we go out to the market and start talking to guys about what we're doing, they're like, oh, I've tried it, and immediately the door is shut. And so for us, it was just getting around that door, really learning their operation and what's important to them, and not starting with the tool, not starting with the solution of, I'm going to tell you exactly where your weeds are, I'm going to tell you exactly what your emergence looks like, but saying, hey, what was your biggest problem last year? And then they'll tell us what they had a big problem with. Happened to be replant last year. There's a lot of water. And so we can kind of say, well, here's how we solve this for somebody else. And just start giving those real ROI examples like we've been talking and where that real benefit is for them. But that is a tough thing. We're absolutely disruptive in the imagery game, but because it's been around for a long time, it's hard to kind of get past where things may have failed.
That's such a great point, almost like a fatigue from it. So that's a really great point.
Good answer.
yeah, I think, and the other part that's very interesting for us, at least as putting out these technologies, is the level of expectations. So people read the news and they think that autonomous cars are solved, right? That we're going to have autonomous cars carting our kids to school so we don't have to do it. And as a researcher in that area, I don't think that future is there. And even if it would be there, I just found out yesterday talking to someone that Uber knows exactly where each street sign is. So they don't even have to detect a sign. They just know where it is in the image, right? So this type of thing doesn't happen on a farm, right? We're in an unstructured environment. Everything is changing. So telling people that just because Google can drive a car on a highway doesn't mean that that this is a done deal, and you're going to have robots running around in your gardens in no time, right? So.
Yes, next question.
The grower group was pretty fired up about data transparency or data portability, and so here we've got scouting data, image data, weather data. How do you integrate with a grower who's got 4 other apps giving them other pieces, and is there a way for everybody to come to common standards to layer all these pieces of data on top of each other? Is there any progress in that area?
I would say Agrible, yes, has worked on that. So we integrated with my John Deere Operations Center, so we're able to import the fields. We've also worked with a couple other partners with integrating. We also have the Field to Market API, so it's the sustainability index, or the metrics. And so integrating has been great, and I definitely took notes on that because I think the more that we can integrate, the better. So I think we continue to work on that.
Agree completely. Same thing, being integrated with John Deere Operations Center has been phenomenal, but then also looking at every single other type of layer that's out there, soil maps and topography maps and really what's going on landscape-wise. But yeah, I think we're looking to, be absolutely fully integratable with everything. I mean, that's the name of the game. It's a great question.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times for us, the data standards are also very variable across the different institutions that we work with. So, enabling software systems that can report data in the way the customer wants is important for us.
Okay, any other questions? Indu.
Yeah, thank you, Jed. My question is, you are as successful disruptive tech companies. I'm sure you are awardees of SBIR as well. So my question is, what were your most challenging experiences pre-award and post-award of SBIR grants? Like any experiences you have?
Okay.
Yes, we're SBIR companies?
We don't have yet one that is funded. We have, we have other ways of funding it. But I think,
Our National Science Foundation grant, yeah. So we kind of got started in 2015. We were awarded a National Science Foundation grant to develop technology to detect weeds, and we did that with drone technology. And so just learning in that experience how much more we can do with imagery and with these algorithms is kind of what took off for us. But what I would say that is most challenging for us, I think it's a people thing, a resource thing. I mean, we have so many things that we want to do and so many exciting places that we want to go and expand to, but we've got to be strategic and we've got to kind of start somewhere and kind of grow naturally that way.
And you've all done a great job of customer discovery and running lean. I think you've done a great job of that, all three of you.
Yeah, so on the I-Core, which we did go through, and other grants which are not to the company but through the university have created the IP that the company licenses. In all of them, the I-Core is an experience in its own, right? If you haven't done it, you should do it. I mean, it's a life-changing experience, in my opinion. And it really helped us focus and target and do the right pivots and put the customer at the front, because as technologists, we love the technology, right? But business can be made without any technology, right? And at the end of the day, if you want to open a business, we must first learn the basics of business, and the customers are the key in that. And then from other grants, I think it's one thing to when you propose things. The biggest challenge with most of the scientific work that we do is that when you propose things, you're projecting based on the current state of knowledge, but when you execute the award, the state of knowledge has already gone forward. In a field like machine learning, that happens on a weekly basis, right? And you need to be able to adapt to that change. So post-award, I think mostly what we need to think about is, okay, what was the essence of what we proposed, and how can it be accomplished now, as opposed to being closely tied to an approach that may be not relevant anymore.
Excellent. All right. Any last closing remarks that you'd like to make? No? Okay, great. I would like to say one last thing. I'd like to just echo what Girish said. If there's anyone in here that has some technology that they're interested in trying to validate that they've got customers, that they've got the right value proposition, please talk to one of us, and you can sign up for the I-Core program, and we'll help you get in it, because it is a valuable program, and it's done it's helped a lot of people make a lot of progress here. Yeah. And we've got room for you to get into it. So with that, let's give our panel members a hand.